Hey everybody, Terry Bradley here, simpleswingthoughts.com, and welcome to week number 3. It's already week number 3 here in the 18-week Swing into Spring 2015, already preparing for week number 4. Wow, where does the time go? Now, in this video, we're going to talk about the takeaway. And there's a lot of important points in the takeaway that we really need to take away from this particular video. So sit back, relax a little bit. I'm going to make this as quick as possible, but it's going to be informative. Okay, now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly review last week in our videos about the grip, okay, because a lot of you are coming to us from YouTube, and I want to make sure that we understand exactly what bases everything on the golf swing, okay. Now what happens is, what you're going to do is you're going to grip the golf club in the base of your fingers, okay. Now when you do that, the club handle is going to rest below the padding of your left hand, okay. Now what happens is when you move to your right hand, you're going to grab underneath the club with the right hand, okay, right here. You're going to grab underneath the club with the right hand in the base of the fingers, and again your club handle is going to rest below the padding of your right hand. Now the position of your thumb on your left hand, I forgot to mention, is resting at about a 1 o'clock position, okay. Now if you were to just close your hands and not do anything else, what would happen is you would have an extremely strong grip, and we don't want that, okay. The V is actually pointing way outside the right shoulder, okay. But what you're going to do is you're going to actually turn your wrist, okay. You're going to turn your wrist just like this. You see how I turn my wrist? I'm turning my wrist to the left, okay. Turn my wrist, and what's going to happen is now this V is going to point towards your right shoulder, and that's more of a neutral grip in golf. Okay, now, but what that's going to do is that's going to actually close your club face. Okay, and I'm going to show you, okay, what that means. Now, that's going to close your club face. Now, how do we get that square? What we do is we put the club on the ground and we actually tilt the shaft forward. Now, that club face that's closed now is square. Okay, so that's the leverage release grip. Okay, now let me briefly go over the posture. Now, the posture works hand in hand with the grip. Okay, posture. Here is a 55-45 degree setup. You're putting a little more weight on your left leg. Again, 55 degrees over here, and then 45 degree right there. 55-45 right there. Now, what's going to happen is when you're standing over the ball, you're going to have a slight spine tilt back. Okay. What's going to do is going to put your head behind the ball here. Okay, now remember that 55-45 degree setup here. What that's going to do is that's going to enable your body now to swing around the ball without swaying off of it. Okay, because what's going to happen is when you take the club back, your club's going to go this way. Now your body has a path to go around this way, and with your head staying behind the ball all the way through impact. Okay, it's never going to move past that box right there. So that's your 55-45 setup on your posture there. Okay, now, so let's move into the actual takeaway video. Now, what we're going to do is there's one thing we're going to learn here first. And what we're going to learn is there's an angle that we have to really be familiar with, and this is going to really drive home a lot of questions I had this week on the takeaway. Now, this angle right here is about 144 degrees. Let me see if I can't get 144 right here. There you go. It's 144 degrees. Okay, just take my word for it. Okay, and we want this angle at 144 degrees to stay constant. So when we take the club back, the club will be a stiff takeaway, because we don't want this club angle, we don't want this club shaft to come off the angle. Now, what we're going to do after that on the takeaway is we're going to get to some common mistakes that people make on the takeaway. Now, there's one thing I always talk about a takeaway on the club handle is we always want to think that the club weighs 300 pounds, because if we think the club weighs 300 pounds, there's no way that we'd be able to snatch the club up like that. Okay, that's probably the most common misswing approach to golf when I first see people play golf, is they just lift the club up and they think they can just lift the club up and just bring it down, and they can't do it that way. Okay, so you don't want to lift the club. You want to make sure that if in your mind, if you think the club weighs 300 pounds, then you won't be able to just snatch the club up. Okay? Now, what else we're going to understand is on this is when we are over the ball, and let me fast forward this just a little bit. When we're over the ball, what we want is the triangle here. Okay? Now remember the 144 degree angle we had. Now that 144 degree, I'm sorry, I may not have mentioned this, it's the degree between the club shaft and your forearms. Okay, that makes the 144 degree. Let me draw this real quick for you because I want to make sure you understand it. It's the degree between your forearms and the shaft. Okay? Just want to make sure you understood that. Now we don't want to break that degree angle during the takeaway. Okay, so now I've got my triangle set up between my shoulders, my arms, and my hands. Okay, we don't want to break this triangle either. On my earlier videos, I called this the Bermuda Triangle. You don't want to break the Bermuda Triangle. Okay, so as we're over the ball, what we want to do is we want to take a one-piece takeaway. You see how that worked? What we want to do is, we want to take the one-piece takeaway so we don't break the angle. So when we come back, see, we just come back just like that. See, we come back and everything is still intact. The club came off the ball without breaking that 144 degree angle. And I've got a photo I'm going to show you just in a minute on that. Okay, so as we continue to go through, I'm going to fast forward this and we're going to look at, there was a question about wrist hock last week, and that address, the left wrist is kind of cupped. But what happens is when you bring the club back smoothly, what happens is our left wrist, see how it's still cupped just a little bit? What happens is when it comes back to parallel and goes up to the top of the backswing, it naturally, okay, you probably can't see it here, shoot. Anyway, it naturally flattens out right here, okay? You don't have to think about it. Your grip and your posture takes care of that move. Oh, there you go. There it goes. See how let me see here. See up here the wrist. I mean, up here okay, I'm not going to be able to get that, but see how the wrist flattens out naturally. So you don't have to worry about that. Now, there's one thing I want to show you now. On the swing plane, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fast forward this just a little bit. On the swing plane, okay, we want to make sure that when we come off the ball, it's a very smooth takeaway. We don't want to come too far out, like I just showed you, and we don't want to come too far in. Okay, we want to make sure it comes out really smooth, just like that. Now, here's the picture I want to show you that I came up with, and it's a little no yes video or a little no yes picture. What happens is you see the green line, that's the right plane. Now remember, again, the 144 degree is intact on the green shaft, but on the red shaft it's not. And a lot of us, when we again first start playing golf, we come back on the red shaft. We have to learn to keep the club outside our hands and keep that angle at 144 coming off the ball. Okay, so the shaft will come off a little bit rigid or a little bit stiff, and that's totally okay. Okay? Now, proceeding through, there's one more point I want to make, and that is a lot of times when people want to go for power, what they do is they want to come off the ball a little too fast. Okay, so when they're over the ball, they're all set, and they snatch the club back just like that. See how they snatch the club back? Well, we don't want to do that. Okay? Coming off the ball is a very slow, methodical move because your power comes when you come in on your downswing, and we'll get to that on another video. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward here to a couple of swings and see if I can't do what I say I'm doing, and we'll see what happens. So in this swing here, again, I'm set up good, triangle hands, 55-45 head behind the ball, and forward shaft lane, leverage grip. Let's see what happens. So as I come off the ball, All I do is I want to just drop my arms and hit the ball. Okay? Now let's look at one more. I'm going to fast forward this. Again, it's a very simple takeaway. We want to make sure that we have it all in tune here. And as I fast forward, let me see. Let me see if I can. Hold on just a second. Let me see if I can get this. Okay, so on this swing, what we're going to see all the fundamentals in action, and we're going to get a little sound effect here to see how I strike the ball. Okay, now I did leave the ball out of these videos in the beginning simply because I want people to look at the body motion, because the ball is really the most unimportant part of a golf swing. Okay, so let's listen and see if I perform this right. Okay, here we go. Okay, so there you have it. That's the takeaway. So remember, keep the triangle, keep the 144-degree angle, take the club back like it weighs 300 pounds. Your wrist will naturally cock in the backswing. Drop your arms, keep your head behind the ball, and you'll hit shots just like that. Okay? Again, my name's Terry, week 3 of the 18-week swing in the spring 2015. Next week will be week 4. We'll talk about the backswing and all the importance of that, and then we'll get into the downswing in week 5, and it really, really gets fun after that. Okay? So have fun, take care, tee up, hit them straight if you're in warm weather. If not in your cold weather, please do the drill. You can do drills on this to make sure that you get your swing going back in the right frame, the right triangle, and you'll be ready for spring. Okay? Talk to you soon.